Hey guys, Movieopolis X here. And today, we are covering the demonic horror thriller movie titled Jennifer's Body was released in 2009. Fair warning, there are spoilers in the summary. Take a look, subscribe, and give it a thumbs up if you like it. The movie opens with a scene from a mental institution. Anita Lesnicki is one of the inmates of the institution and is notorious for kicking people. From her solitary confinement, Anita shares her journey from a studio high schooler to a violent mental institute inmate. Anita, from a small town named Devil's Kettle. The town is named after its famous waterfall that flows into a deep hole. Anita goes to the town's only high school with her childhood best friend, Jennifer Check. The two girls have little in common, but are still inseparable friends. Anita is an uncool, nerdy high schooler. Whereas, Jennifer is an attractive cheerleader. Jennifer and others affectionately call Anita Needy. One evening, Needy and Jennifer go to an indie concert. Her band called Low Shoulder is at the local bar called Melody Lane. Needy's boyfriend, Chip, isn't so happy about his girlfriend spending more time with her than with him. Needy doesn't admit it aloud or perhaps doesn't realize it, but her feelings toward Jennifer border on attraction. The poor boy can't separate the gal pals. Jennifer is interested in the indie band's frontman, Nick. The two girls introduce themselves to the band before their performance. Needy grows curious about why a band would care about performing in such a small town, but Nick explains that they intend to connect with their fans all over. An infatuated Jennifer goes to get drinks for the two of them. Needy, incidentally, overhears the band talking about Jennifer. Nick speculates that Jennifer is a virgin. He says that Jennifer is the type of small-town girl who likes to flirt and pretend to be promiscuous, but never gives it up. Needy, freaked out, and warned her best friends about the creep, but Jennifer could care less and is still obsessed with Nick's good looks. During the band's performance, due to a short circuit on the stage, the bar catches fire. As the fire engulfs the bar, chaos and panic ensue. Several people died in the fire, but Needy and Jennifer managed to escape through the washroom window. The accident seems to have shaken Jennifer badly, as she appears lost in her thoughts. Needy and Jennifer are approached by Nick, who has also survived the fire. Seeing Jennifer so shaken, he invites the girls to rest in his van. Needy declines the offer and insists on going back home. But Jennifer agrees to go with Nick. As Needy watches Jennifer leave with the band, she could sense that something bad was about to happen. Nick reminded Needy of a skinny, twisted, evil, and petrifying tree she saw when she was a kid. Needy's divorced mother works late night shifts after returning home, so Needy calls her boyfriend, Chip, and recounts the horror she witnessed at the bar. Suddenly, Needy's doorbell rings. It is the middle of the night, so of course, Needy is a little unnerved by someone ringing her doorbell at this time of night. She nervously answers the door with Chip on the phone line, but she doesn't seem to find anyone at the door. She breathes a sigh of relief and brushes it off as her imagination. Meanwhile, a shadow is seen moving inside her house. She hangs up the phone and proceeds to return to her room, but she is stopped by a strange noise coming from the kitchen. She nervously walks to her kitchen, only to find the tap leaking water. Needy closes the tap, and when she turns around, she's terribly spooked by the bruised and bleeding Jennifer standing before her. Jennifer has blood dripping from her body all over the floor. Needy asks her friend what happened to her, but Jennifer only lets out an evil creepy grin and starts looking for food in Needy's fridge. Jennifer throws a chicken on the floor and tears it like a beast. However, she is unable to digest the chicken and suddenly starts coughing before vomiting its tar-like substance all over the floor. Needy freaks out and proceeds to call 911, but Jennifer stops her and throws Needy against the wall. Jennifer asks a terrified Needy if she is afraid of her. Jennifer then proceeds to bite Needy's neck like a vampire, but suddenly runs out at the front door, leaving Needy bewildered and shaken. The next day, the whole town mourns the lives lost in the bar fire. Needy is still traumatized by what happened at the bar and what she witnessed in her home. While Jennifer arrives at school, as if nothing ever happened, Needy presses her friend about last night's incident. But Jennifer only brushes her off. Tell her that she has a tendency to overreact and cook things up. However, Needy is sure of what she saw last night because she spent the night cleaning up the mess Jennifer created on her kitchen floor. The entire school is shaken by the tragedy as it loses its students, Spanish teacher, and several parents. Worried about Jennifer, Needy shares what happened to Jennifer last night with her boyfriend, Chip. Chip attributes the vomiting to smoking, but Needy is convinced that it was something else. Something demonic. At the school football field, Jennifer approaches an emotional Jonas, the high school football captain. Jonas is devastated by the death of his best friend, Craig, who died in the fire. Jennifer expresses her condolences to a bereaved Jonas and tells him that she met Craig at the bar. She reveals that Craig's last words to her were that Jonas and her would make a banging couple. She then lures Jonas into the nearby woods to fulfill Craig's last wish. The two start making out intensely. But Jonas soon realizes that they are surrounded by wild animals and birds. Jennifer then tells Jonas that he will soon meet his slain best friend and starts biting him with her demonic gaping maw of a mouth. The school principal hears Jonas's screams and follows them to the woods. He discovers Jonas's brutally dismembered body being eaten by wild animals. Jennifer has turned into a flesh-eating demon that creepily swims naked in the lake. She seemingly doesn't even get wounded anymore, and when she does, she quickly recovers. The town is horrified by Jonas's brutal murder, and the town dwellers are still too numb to go back to normal. On the other hand, Jennifer seems to be thriving and happy as ever. The town has become infamous throughout the country because of the double incident. The tragedy also propels the Low Shoulder Band to stardom due to their falsely rumored heroism in the fire. A month has passed since Jennifer killed Jonas, and no other tragedy or murder has hit town. Jennifer is now starting to appear sick and depressed. Jennifer's skin is badly breaking out. She explains that it is wearing off. The school's principal reveals that the Low Shoulder Band is offered to make a charity appearance at the school's spring formal. The band's song Through the Trees has become the town's unofficial anthem of unity and healing. Needy is not happy about this news. Outside the class, Colin, an emo nerd, asks Jennifer to go out on a movie date, but she turns him down. Needy, on the other hand, praises Colin. Surprisingly, Jennifer suddenly changes her mind and decides to give Colin a chance. She invites him over to her house to watch a movie. In the evening, Needy and Chip get it on. And Jennifer sends Colin an address in a dark and creepy neighborhood. He arrives at the address and knocks on the door but doesn't get a response. At this point, the lover boy goes around the house and climbs through the window, which is covered by plastic. He looks around the house and gets spooked by a crow flying inside the home. He follows the sound of Akon's music playing upstairs and comes across a candlelit room. As he looks around the room, a sick-looking Jennifer appears from behind. The two start making out. Suddenly, a nest of mice pass by, which spooks Colin, but an unfazed Jennifer continues the lovemaking and takes Colin's pants off. Now, he can't even run. Colin next notices the color and size of Jennifer's eyes is changing. He understandably freaks out and starts retreating, but Jennifer grabs his arm and breaks it. She continues to break his bones and tells him that she wants him to be frightened and hopeless. She then starts brutally disemboweling him and eating his organs. Meanwhile, Needy is having sex with Chip. As she notices blood dripping through the ceiling, she soon realizes that it's just a hallucination. But she then sees Jonas and Jennifer sitting on Chip's couch. Jennifer is sitting like she's some sort of animal. She freaks out and starts gasping for air. She quickly gets dressed and leaves her home, leaving Chip confused. However, on her way home, Jennifer creepily walks in front of Needy's car. Needy freaks out and quickly swerves her car and stops. Jennifer then jumps on Needy's windshield, freaking Needy out. Needy frantically reverses her car and flees. She safely returns home and goes to bed. But to her dismay, Jennifer appears from under the blanket. Needy starts screaming, but Jennifer calms the petrified girl down. She makes a move on Needy and they make out. Needy orders Jennifer to leave, but Jennifer convinces Needy to let her explain what's happening with her. She then recalls the day she went with the Low Shoulder Band members after the bar fire. She calls them the agents of Satan and evil. The movie then flashes back to that night in the band's van. They drove Jennifer to the woods. The band's van was creepy and had charred skulls and dark magic books. Jennifer soon realized that they were up to no good after she heard the bandmates speculating about her virginity. Jennifer lied to them and that she is a virgin in hopes that they would let her go. But the band took her to the town's waterfall. Jennifer tried to flee, but Nick grabbed her and tied her up next to the fall. Nick then revealed that he brought Jennifer to the waterfall for a ritual. He intends to sacrifice a virgin girl to Satan in exchange for fame and fortune. Nick then chanted an incantation to the devil and brutally stabbed Jennifer to death with a dagger before throwing it in the notorious whirlpool. Back to the present, Jennifer then explains to Needy that, for some reason, she survived and came looking for Needy that night after Nick and the other bandmates left. While returning home, Jennifer reveals that she ran into an exchange student, Amit, from their school, leaving the scene of the fire. After she learned that no one knew that Amit survived the fire, she took him to the woods and made him her first meal. Jennifer confides in Needy that when her stomach is full of human flesh she is indestructible. She then demonstrates it by slitting her arm and instantly healing. Needy, alarmed by the revelation, threatens to call the cops on her for murdering Jonas. But Jennifer confidently tells her that no one will believe her and leaves. The next day, Needy learns that Jennifer murdered Colin. Upon realizing that Jennifer isn't going to stop, Needy does research on virgin sacrifices in the occult section of her school's library. She learns about demonic transference, which happens when someone unintentionally offers a non-virgin to Satan instead of a virgin. This ritual may achieve the desired results. But the demon will forever reside in the soul of the non-virgin sacrifice. Jennifer must always feed on human flesh to sustain the demon. And can only be killed when she is hungry in a week. Since Jennifer has only been killing boys, Needy feels it is not safe for Chip to go to the school dance with Jennifer around. Needy shares her findings with Chip and advises him against going to the dance. But Chip suggests that she should get psychiatric help. Needy breaks up with him in order to protect him. Flash forward to the school dance. Chip is going to the school dance by himself. Meanwhile, Jennifer is weak from not having eaten human flesh in a while. As Low Shoulder performs, Needy leaves the school dance looking for Chip after she finds him and Jennifer missing at the dance. Jennifer confronts Chip on his way to the school. She lied to him that Needy was having an affair with Colin, which is why she's been acting strange since he died. She tells Chip that Needy doesn't deserve him. And making out with him. She takes him to an abandoned mansion with an indoor swimming pool. When Chip has second thoughts about hooking up with her, Jennifer throws Chip into the pool and attempts to drown him. While passing through the park, Needy finds Chip's orchid flower and hears his screams. She rushes to the mansion to find a demonic Jennifer feeding on Chip's neck. Furious, Needy jumps into the water to save her man. She maces Jennifer, causing her to vomit black liquid. As Chip and Needy get out of the water, Jennifer starts levitating. Need confronts Jennifer for never being a good friend. She calls Jennifer insecure and enraged. Jennifer starts walking toward Needy, threatening to kill her. But Chip uses all his remaining strength to impale Jennifer with a pool skimmer. A weakened Jennifer pulls out the skimmer before running away. Needy tends to dying Chip and expresses his love for her before dying in her arms. Needy wails as she mourns him. Thirsty for vengeance, Needy later storms into Jennifer's room and jumps on her former best friend. Furious, Needy chokes her. But Jennifer bites Needy's neck and savors her blood. Needy then slices Jennifer's stomach with a box cutter. But it barely has any impact on her. They both start levitating. Needy is on top of Jennifer, and Needy notices the best friend forever necklace on Jennifer's neck and yanks it. Suddenly, they both start free falling. Needy uses the momentum to stab Jennifer right in her heart with a box cutter and kill Jennifer. After hearing the commotion, Jennifer's mother arrives and finds Needy crouched over her daughter with a bloody knife. This results Needy being admitted to a mental institution. Having been bitten by Jennifer, Needy has retained some supernatural abilities. She's also acquired some of Jennifer's evil traits, like a bad temper and an antisocial attitude. Needy uses her powers to levitate herself to an overhead window, kicks it open, and breaks free from the facility. As she travels down the road, she comes across a watery runoff and the knife that Low Shoulders frontman Nick used to stab Jennifer. This is where the waterfall empties. Needy then hitchhikes a ride to the hotel where Low Shoulders are checked into and savagely murders the band. And this is the end of the movie. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.